Chapter 22. Miss Wilson. Marjorie, please. The middle-aged woman smiled at Richard as she handed him a cup of coffee. She had long, blondish, grey hair, which was swept up haphazardly, tendrils trying to escape at every opportunity. He observed her neat figure and small face. She looked fragile, as if she could easily break apart. They sat in a warm, welcoming sitting room, with deep chairs and far too many scatter cushions for Richard's liking. Already one was pushing into his back, giving him the urge to toss it onto the floor, as he would have done at home. Cheers! Richard raised his cup. He needed this drink, as he had no coffee for at least 3 hours. He took a sip and decided he would have to leave it to cool for a bit longer. He was used to getting tepid drinks in coffee shops these days, and had burnt his mouth with the office coffee on more than one occasion, because it came very hot from their machine. Marjorie, thank you for your time, much appreciated. Not at all, Detective. If you think I can help, it's all rather exciting. Oh dear, what does that say about me? Bored, single, middle-aged woman, without a life, I suppose. Richard smiled. Not at all. People usually fall into 2 different categories where the police are concerned. Terrified or thrilled. Really? Well, it's a wide spectrum, but yes. I see. She curled up on the oversized chair and tucked her legs underneath her while she nursed her drink. I believe you teach art at the Benson unit. I did, yes. I left about 6 months ago. For the first time since Richard had met Marjorie Wilson, she looked uncomfortable. Oh, so you don't work there now? Can I ask why? She sat up and put her cup on a small coffee table beside her chair. I was assaulted by one of the patients. Sorry, I didn't know that. Were you badly hurt? Not physically. I went into a storeroom in the art studio and a man followed me in. He tried to... She looked away, clasping her hands tightly. He started touching me and pulling at my clothes. Didn't anyone notice what was going on? Richard said, concerned a nice woman like Marjorie should have to go through something like that. Oh yes, someone noticed. Another patient came in after him and started hitting him. I was covered in blood. Richard could see that reliving this event wasn't doing this woman any good at all. I'm so sorry. Shall I come back later in the week? The last thing I wanted to do was upset you. Marjorie looked at him, blank-faced. Then she shook her head. No, I'm fine. Please, ask me what we were about to. If you're sure. I wanted to ask you about teaching art. I believe you taught a man called Martin Grimes while you worked there? Martin, yes. He was a very quiet man. He didn't really want to be in my class. He took part, but it was very half-hearted. I think it was only because his friend went to my class. And you know I can't tell you about that, don't you? Yes, of course, I wouldn't ask you to tell me anything that breaks confidentiality. But these two? They were close? The other man was the dominant one. Martin was very much a follower. They chatted for a while longer as Richard finished his coffee, the woman telling him a little more about Martin Grimes, putting meat on the bones of their missing man. Thanks, Marjorie, that's been very helpful. Richard fished in his pocket for a card. If you think of anything else, please give me a ring on this number. She took the card. I will. Just one thing, though, before you go. Yes? The man Martin was close to. He's the man who saved me in the store cupboard. But he almost killed my attacker in the process. Becky had the woolly head she had tried to avoid. Not from the wine she had consumed, Well, not entirely. She'd had about 3 hours sleep altogether. She sat next to her DI and opposite Andrea Belinsky, with her notebook on her knee. The interview was being recorded with the witness's permission, though she wasn't happy at first. "Why?" she had asked, looking like a scared child who didn't know what was happening to her. "It's just for our records, Andrea," Becky explained. "If you don't want us to record the conversation, we won't." Reassured by the fact that she had some control over the situation, Andrea relaxed slightly and consented. "Thank you for that. And if at any time this gets too much, we can stop and have a break. Just say. Is that okay?" Again, Andrea nodded. "Now, let's go through what happened from when you first came to Warrington." After 2 hours of constructing background information on the family since they had moved to the area, there was a general consensus that a break was needed. "I'll go to the canteen and get drinks and biscuits," volunteered Becky, glad of the chance to stretch her legs and get out of the room. "What would you prefer? Tea? Coffee? Or maybe a cold drink?" "Tea, please." Becky took the order and left the room. "I was the only tea drinker in the family," Andrea told Wen. "My brother, he drank coffee all the time. He especially liked a little coffee shop in a place called Stockton Heath." "Stockton Heath," corrected Wen automatically. "Yes, that's it." "That was quite away from where you live, though. There must have been coffee shops closer to your home." "Yes, but his friend worked at this one, and he would often give Luke a coffee and cake for free if his boss wasn't about. He would stay there for hours, reading or writing about our experiences, or what is it you say? People watching. It made him feel we had done the right thing to leave our country and try to have a new life here." There wasn't any sadness in her voice, just thoughtfulness. "I wish I could remember the name." Andrea closed her eyes and Wen studied her. She had beautiful pale skin and long, thick hair tied back in a loose ponytail, but she was too thin. Wen wondered what other hardships life had in store for this young woman. Then, suddenly, her eyes opened. "Sorry, it's gone. But it had numbers in the I'm sure it will come back to me." Back at base, Cassie was researching the life and times of David Lowry. She was trying not to let her instant dislike of the man cloud her judgment, but it was difficult. On social media, she found his property business and very little else. He had been married twice, but had no children. And the only photo she could find, besides pictures of him standing inside his estate agency with a sharp suit on and a sickly smile, was the one taken at a recent crime-writing event at the local library. "You think you're the next Ian Rankin, eh?" Cassie thought. She decided to visit his ex-wives and have a friendly chat. So once she had their current addresses, she collected her coat and bag. "Let's see what your exes have to say about you, Mr. Smarmy Lowry." Richard's next interview was a good hour's drive away, as the creative writing tutor at the Benson unit lived in Blackpool. Not a place he liked, or visited if he could help it, but today was one of those days when what he liked and disliked didn't matter. He found William Asgard's residence in a seedy back street. Even his name sang of the melodramatic secret life of a writer. As Richard knocked, he hoped that interviewing a real writer might encourage his hopes of being published someday. His latest story was forming into a fully fledged novel, and he hadn't run out of steam yet. Quite the contrary, in fact. He took advantage of every opportunity to sit at his laptop and get his ideas down. Even Pauline was quizzing him on the amount of work he had been doing at home over the last few days. "This case must have really got under your skin," she commented, as she read her novel while he wrote his. "Just research, really," he replied noncommittally. "Can I help you?" A rather bedraggled man stood in the doorway. It was hard to guess his age because of his unkempt appearance, but a ballpark figure would be about mid-50s. "Mr. Asgard?" "DC Jones from Cheshire Serious Crime Squad." Richard showed the man his ID, which he peered at over his glasses which had slipped down his nose. "Ah, yes. Is that today, then?" "Yes, sir. We made an appointment when I phoned you." "Did we now? Well, you'd better come in, then." He disappeared into the darkness of the hallway, and Richard followed him into the bleak front room. The curtains were half closed, but the windows were so dirty that Richard thought opening them fully would make the room only a little brighter. The room contained a desk, a chair, and books piled up everywhere. A desk lamp shone a beam of light onto a laptop and threw everything else into different shades of grey. The author moved a stack of books, exposing a stool. "Please, sit down." William Asgard sat behind the desk and put his hands on his chin. "What do you think I can do for you, detective?" "You teach creative writing at the Benson unit in Warrington?" "Yes, I think we established that on the phone." "Just double-checking, sir, that's all. Do you teach the subject at any other places as well?" "Yes, I teach 2 night classes a week and give talks at writing conferences and courses." "So you don't just write books for a living?" "Detective, I don't know what you expect a published author's life to be like, but I'll have to disappoint you. Most of us can't make enough money from writing alone to pay our bills, so we do other jobs. Even then, it's touch and go whether I can make ends meet each month. This house, for example. It's my house, but I have 2 rooms and rent the others to pay the mortgage." "So why do you still do it?" "Why, indeed. I have 2 degrees and 1 master's. I had intended to teach and write in my spare time, which I did to begin with. I even got lucky with my first novel. An agent, a publishing deal, the whole dream." "What happened?" "I left the day job to concentrate on my craft. After all, I'd proved I could do it. It sold very well and got good reviews, but I didn't have a second novel in me. I've published others, of course, but they are dross. Having supped at the breast of success, I am now addicted to the hunt for the next best piece of fiction, which of course will be mine." He laughed. "However, I'm sure you're not here for my miserable life story." Richard had Googled William Asgard before his visit. His web page presented a successful author who had written many novels and only taught creative writing to give something back. His work at the mental health unit was highlighted as a further gift given from the goodness of his heart. "Sorry, I was just interested." He remembered the reason he was here. "While working at the Benson unit, you had a Martin Grimes in your class. Is that right?" "Among others, yes. He was quite the talent, was Martin. He wrote some beautiful poetry." "Really?" "Yes. His friend, now that was a different story. He wrote about crime, very graphic stuff. The sort of thing the public love these days." "Who was this, then?" Richard hoped William would let the name slip. "The unit called me to say you might be in touch. You know I can't tell you that." Richard felt his face heat up, and he was glad the room was dark. "I'll find out in a couple of days, anyway." "From them, not me. And when you do have some names, call me back. I might have more information for you then." The last person Richard needed to talk to that day had to be contacted by phone, as he was in Italy, having secured a small part in a film there. Thank you for your time, Mr. Redmayne.
Leo, dear boy, not at all. Anything I can do to further the cause of justice.
Richard looked skyward. Glad this wasn't a video call. How do they think these names up, he wondered. Thank you, Leo. It's connection with an ongoing investigation. I believe you took a drama group at the Benson unit for a term.
Yes, while I was resting. A complex group. Quite taxing at times.
How do you mean? Richard wondered if he could tap into Leo's chattiness and get some information that might actually help with the inquiry.
It was a small class, 6 if I remember, and they ranged from complete indifference to rather too passionate. I did the assassination scene from Julius Caesar once, and the actor playing Caesar got quite badly hurt.
They didn't have real knives, did they?
Good God, no, Leo laughed.
They didn't have any weapons at all. They had to pretend. But he gave Caesar a heavy blow to the ribs.
The man doubled over and they had to take him off for an x-ray. Broken ribs, I think.
That's when I decided it would be safer working in a coffee shop or a bookshop. Can you remember the name of the aggressor?
Aggressor? That sounds so brutal.
The name, please?
Yes. Sorry. Let me think.
Time passed and Richard tapped his foot under the table, since patience wasn't his strong point.
No, sorry, I can't remember.
Richard decided to try a shot in the dark. It wasn't a man called Martin Grimes, was it?
Ah, now that rings a bell. Martin Grimes, that's it.
He assaulted another patient. Richard felt a rush of adrenaline.
At last, were they going to get a lead that they so desperately needed? No, he wasn't the attacker. He was the victim.